Hey, this is my first video on this channel. My name's Spoove, and this is really just a hobby for me. I just want to be able to get my thoughts out and how I feel about video games because, they really mean a lot to me. So let's begin with Tiny Tina's Wonderlands. Tiny Tina's story is really its biggest downfall. The story of the game is like this. You're a fate maker, and you are a part of a Dungeons and Dragons campaign where Tiny Tina is the dungeon master. That's basically all you have to know without getting into spoilers or anything, even though there's not much to spoil in this game. When I had first heard about this game, I remember being so excited to play it, thinking about all the different possibilities and skills and fun ways that you could do combat with the Dungeons and Dragons style of game. And I was right to be excited for that, because that's the best part of this game, is the gameplay and the spells and the classes and the weapons and just everything to do with the gameplay. The problem with this Dungeons and Dragons type style of game is it lends itself to not taking the story seriously at all. Whereas, games like Borderlands 2 or 3 had a story and, characters and emotional moments. This game is more about making jokes as you go from place to place defending things. The example of why I found the story annoying is all the characters have one personality and one mode to them the entire game. There's almost no character development at all through this entire game. The one character with any character development at all is the Dragon Lord, and he has the most default, basic ass story I've ever heard. An example of the cringy humor in this is, at one point, the Dragon Lord talks about how Tina can only write one character, whereas it's just not funny because you guys are the ones who wrote this game, and you only know how to write one character. Another big issue with this game was the bugs at release. The game came out in a very bad state, in my opinion, and it's gotten better, but it's still not where it should be. The first 3 days the game came out, you couldn't play multiplayer because the servers were down. I was playing yesterday and there was a bug where I couldn't see my inventory. There's other bugs where you can't buy anything in the shop. It's just a bunch of really minor bugs that annoy the hell out of me. Because one thing you'll learn about me is the minor little things that shouldn't piss me off the absolute most. And while we're on the technical stuff, let's talk about what I played this on. I played Tiny Tina's Wonderlands on the Series X, and I played with a friend with the Series X and another person with the Series S and one with the Xbox One. And from what I found from everybody that I've played with is the X and the S run very well for this game, but the Xbox One has some serious pop-in issues. So if you don't have the next-gen consoles, I would maybe wait until you do. Another critique I have of the game is that the level cap seems a little too low. In Borderlands 2, I know when the game first came out, the level cap was level 50 or something, and they added a bunch of levels afterwards. And I think this game would have worked with the level 50 level cap, because it feels like you can't really finish out your skill trees or your secondary skill tree at all. You can't really upgrade it. So I'm assuming they're planning to add more levels in the future, but I wish there were more at release because the game's pretty short already, so it kind of makes the end game content a little shorter as well. It's my last little negative nitpick of the game. I don't want to harp on it too much, but one small thing that could have been fixed is why can't I see where my friends are located on the border of the minimap? It's like once they leave that little circle in your minimap, you gotta pull up your map and find them because it just doesn't give you like a guider of what direction you have to go, which is just, I don't know. It's like this has been in so many other games like this before. Like, why didn't you add this? It was pissing me off a little bit when we were playing the big open world areas, but it's definitely not anything to take like points off the game for. It's just like, come on, guys. Now we get to talk about the positives and why I think you should still play this game, despite all of the negatives I just said in the previous section. And to begin, I think you really got to start with the character classes and customization. The way the character creation works in this game is you pick a primary skill set and then you pick a secondary skill set, which allows for a lot of customization and different variations you can run, which is much appreciated. Well, we're on the topic of character customization. This is the first Borderlands game that you can create your very own character, which I've always wanted since Borderlands 2 because I like to be able to, create myself in video games. It's always fun. The guns feel a lot like Borderlands 3's guns, which is fine with me because Borderlands 3 is some of the best looter shooter gameplay you're gonna find out there. In fact, I think it's probably the best. And well, that's a good thing. I still wish that this game maybe took a little more risks with its gun design, because really the only new gun they've added is the crossbow bolt type guns. If I'm missing one, then let me know. The biggest new addition to gameplay is the spells. The spells are replacing the grenades from all the other Borderlands games, and I think it's really a good addition. I think a lot of the spells are very useful and interesting and cool, and every time I picked up a new spell, I always wanted to try it out and see what the difference between all of them are, which I think this is a great evolution for the Borderlands type game, because it's a lot like the grenades in Borderlands 2 and 3 and the prequel, where they have spell-like almost effects and abilities to them. So I think it's just a great evolution to move to spells over grenades. This game has great enemy variation, which is important in any Borderlands game because the gameplay can get very stale and repetitive very fast. So it's always nice to have a variation of enemies who do different things, have different tactics, use different elements. It's definitely nice for keeping the game fresh when a lot of the other mechanics are really trying to grate you down with its repetitiveness. Wonderlands is like a lot of looter shooters in the fact that the game really picks up in the amount of fun you're having towards the end of the game. I think the Chaos Dungeon is probably the most fun part of this entire game. It's basically a dungeon where you go through, you earn crystals, which is what you're watching me do right now, and at the end of your run, you get to spend the crystals on any type of item you want. And I really like this because it gives you the opportunity to really earn the legendary items that you wanted. It's not all just RNG. You can really earn a lot of legendaries in this mode, which I appreciate for endgame content. One last thing that I wanted to add about the game, which probably should have gone in the negatives, but I'm a lazy college student, so I'm just going to put it here, is that this game's soundtrack is not very strong at all. In fact, it's honestly pretty average and garbage. I think a first-person shooter can really be elevated by the soundtrack and the music choice. If you want an example of this, you should try a little game called Doom Eternal. It's probably my favorite shooter ever made. But if this game had some better music, it would make the gameplay that much better. This is kind of a hard game to rate, so I thought I'd come on here and tell you guys how I'm going to rate these games from now on and in the future. And I've decided to rate the game out of 10 based on the genre of game they're from. So what I mean by this is I'm not going to compare this game to, like, say, The Last of Us or something like that, because it would just be unfair. So on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being, say, Borderlands 2, which is a looter shooter I compare all other games to, I would rate this game a 7 out of 10. When comparing this game to Borderlands 2, it's hard for it to stack up. The story is worse. The main bad guy is infinitely worse. The length of the game is much shorter than Borderlands 2. There's no New Game Plus on top of that, which I don't understand why. The characters are poorly written and one-dimensional, and the quest design is extremely repetitive compared to Borderlands 2. Yet, this game rises above all of those faults due to its gameplay. Thanks for watching. Hey, I just wanted to say one last time, thank you for watching my video. It's my dog in the background. I don't know if you can see her, but thanks for watching the video. And let me know how you feel about Wonderlands or whatever. If you're an avid Wonderlands fan, tell me why I'm an absolute dumbass who should be wiped off the face of the earth.